We begin with another step forward in the fight against the coronavirus. The FDA authorized Pfizer's vaccine for emergency use in adolescents between the ages of 12 and 15. Pfizer's vaccine was found to be 100% effective in adolescents ages 12 to 15. This is, of course, big news for parents because infections in children are rising. As CBS News national correspondent David Begnaud explains, the new goal is to have as many kids vaccinated as possible by the start of the school year this fall.
I wanted to see if the vaccine was safe and effective and to help other people be able to be vaccinated.
This is 14-year-old Ty Dropic. He and his older brother Ben took part in the Pfizer vaccine trial back in December.
It's just worth it in every way that you look at it.
In Pfizer's study of more than 2,200 volunteers ages 12 to 15, there were zero cases of COVID among those who were fully vaccinated, compared to 18 cases among those given a placebo.
How soon should pediatricians expect to receive the vaccine so they can start administering them?
The group that's helping to distribute the vaccine, they understand this need for appropriate storage of this, and they will be ensuring that there are a sufficient number of pharmacies, health centers that will be able to distribute this probably by later on this week.
Despite the positive outlook, there was a recent survey that showed only about 30% of parents will get their kids vaccinated when it becomes available. Nearly a quarter say they will not get their child vaccinated at all. CBS News medical contributor Dr. David Begnaud says encouragement coupled with incentives is what will drive the effort.
Hopefully, as parents start to see schools say, hey, you want your child to be in person and be socialized and be with friends, they need to be vaccinated. The parents who do vaccinate their children say, hey, you can only play around with kids who are also vaccinated. And so hopefully that'll have an effect.
Ty Dropic's family is trying to move the needle. His 8-year-old sister and 10-year-old brother joined trials for younger children after seeing their older siblings get the vaccine. Dropic's mom, Amanda, who is a pediatrician herself, is hopeful their story sends a message to you.
I think the message for this group is, listen, the vaccine is safe, it works, and if you want to do things that you normally would like to do, if you want to go hang out with friends, you want to go on vacation, if you want to do those kinds of things, then get your vaccine and let's go back to life being normal again.
Yes, ma'am, we hear you loud and clear on that. Listen, the kids involved in this trial received the same dose of the vaccine as adults, and they reported some of the same side effects: sore arm, tired, fever, chills. How soon could this rollout happen? We were told by the FDA some pediatricians could have the vaccine and be ready to administer it as early as this Thursday. David Begnaud, CBS News, outside the FDA headquarters here in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Joining us to talk more about the vaccine for kids is Alonzo Plough. He is the Chief Science Officer at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. He's also the former Health Department Director in both Boston and Seattle. Alonzo, welcome. Great to have you with us. This is good news for many parents, but as we heard there in David Begnaud's package, not all. A recent poll found fewer than 30% of parents would give their child the vaccine, and that same poll finds that 15% of parents would only vaccinate if the school required it, and nearly 20% will not get their child vaccinated at all. So when you hear these sorts of numbers, how do you go about convincing parents that this vaccine is safe for 12 to 15-year-olds?
Well, I think just with the facts should convince parents. First, this was 100% effective at preventing COVID-19 in the clinical trial that for specifically designed for kids 12 to 15. That is good news. Strong science. But I think more the convincing really message is we want our children and our adolescents to get back to normal. We want them to go to summer camp. We want them to be able to attend school in person. We want them to be able on sports teams. We want them to hang with their friends. So vaccination is that pathway back to normalizing these activities. And they are so critical for adolescents because their peers are so critical for their development.
Let me ask you something, though, because there are a lot of parents who are completely open to, vaccinations. They are not in any way vaccine hesitant, but they know that these vaccines were developed, for adults, correct? I mean, that was the original intention. And then, of course, these same vaccines were tested in children. But some parents wonder whether there shouldn't have been a lower dose developed for children or a slightly separate vaccine. What do you say about that?
Well, these are really adolescents and 12 to 15, and the same dosage level that applies to adults applies to that cohort. The younger age group and what the FDA will be considering an additional series of studies for younger children in June, that is when a different dosage level will probably be determined, and that is to come. But adolescents are well up on their way to adulthood, and it's quite normal for the vaccination dosages to be similar to the adult dosage.
Right, that's true. My adolescent is already taller than me. So, Alonzo, there are some 17 million kids in the U.S. between the ages of 12 and 15. How much of that population needs to be vaccinated to make a dent in the nation's efforts to reach herd immunity?
I think we should strive, parents, we should strive so that all of them can get vaccinated. And if there are questions, if parents have questions, they should talk to their doctor, their pediatrician, talk to other parents and trusted figures who have vaccinated their adolescents. And I am hoping that as this begins to be normed throughout the country, that we will get very large numbers of adolescents vaccinated.
And now let's look at that younger group that we were sort of referencing before. We are seeing these vaccine trials for children as young as 6 months now. How long do you think it will be before we see a coronavirus shot that will be available for children of all ages?
Well, some of the work is going on right now, but I think we will need to look at the deliberations happening in June, where they will set up the standards for making those determinations. But I think your listeners should just know that the pace of something getting an emergency use authorization is based on the need for getting really rigorous research. So the same kind of rigorous research that has gone into all the other levels of vaccine authorization needs to go into this review for very young children.
Now, the research tells us that the side effects in adolescents after getting the shot are relatively similar to the side effects that some adults face. I had absolutely no side effects, but my mother, for instance, felt ill for a day or two. So are there any lasting effects from this vaccine that parents might need to be concerned about? And are the side effects being felt is there any indication that they're being felt any stronger in adolescents?
No, there's no indication that there are any other side effects from the Pfizer vaccine than the soreness in the shoulder that some people experienced. And like you, I experienced nothing after my second dose. I was fine. So nothing in the studies have shown that this would operate any differently in the over 2,000 adolescents who were in that particular trial. And again, just to remind your listeners, this is the Pfizer vaccine, not the J&J vaccine that was associated with some longer-term blood clotting issues that have been studied now.
Mm-hmm. Right. All right. Well, do you have any insight into when the Moderna vaccine might also be authorized for use in adolescents?
They are looking at all of the different products, and they will follow a course of decision-making just based on the time that it takes to run each of those vaccines through a similar kind of study. Again, it is very important that the nation be fully vaccinated, but it's really important that we do and continue to do the strong science that allows that to be a safe and effective rollout.
Absolutely. Alonzo Plough, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.